What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lexi J Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Lexi Johnson. This is my husband and co-host, Brett Johnson. This week, we are going to talk about quitting. Everybody wants to do it eventually. We're going to try to tell you or try to convince you why you shouldn't. So first and foremost, I just want to say there's nothing special about the feeling, the desire to want to quit. Truly, every single person on earth has wanted to quit any endeavor in their life. And if they've told you otherwise, one, they're probably a liar, or two, they haven't been trying hard enough to reach a point where they have that contemplation phase. So I want to first normalize that desire. It's so common and normal, and that normal's the best way I can put it. It's just part of the experience.
It's not unique to now. It's not unique to the past. It's not unique to the future. Everybody's going to experience it.
Yeah, I think there's something really powerful about just saying, like, there's nothing special about wanting to quit, genuinely. Because when you want to quit, you internalize that so long, and you come up with every excuse and validation as to why your instance is unique and special. There's nothing special about wanting to quit. Every single person wants to quit. Scenarios are a little bit different from person to person, but, you know, speaking largely, you've come to a point where you no longer want to do the hard thing anymore. You want to take the easy route, and there is nothing unique about that. That may be the harsh truth, but that's the truth.
Yeah. Victim mentality really is an easy thing to adopt, and you explain to yourself over and over about how your situation's different than what somebody else's has been, or everybody else who's come before you has been, you know, and it just creates this justification process.
Yeah, I always just like to go from like a very rational standpoint. So I work in the health and wellness field with exercise. Many people want to quit exercise. I have certainly wanted to quit a time or two. I want to quit nutrition almost every day. You know, it's just like, it's a continual.
That's it. I'm out.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not going. I'm the Grinch. No, but I struggle with nutrition. I want to eat and eat and eat, and I could do it all day long. So it's like a recalibration of, like, you know, what do I want most? And understanding that I have to follow a game plan in order to get my desired outcome. Unfortunately, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. We are big kids. We know that there are consequences to our actions. So if you speak rationally, and you know, if you want in your heart to be healthy, strong, fit, comfortable in your skin, confident, health, all those things, you know that you have to do shit you don't want to do, right? Like, that makes sense to you. Mm-hmm. But in the moment, we're like, but it's different for me because you don't understand, because I don't want to exercise and I like junk food too much. Mm-hmm. And I just want to shake you, because every single person I do, I'm like, there's nothing special about that. There's nothing special that you want to eat like a garbage disposal. I do too. But there is a lot of special in understanding that you have those desires, but you desire something larger more.
Right.
And you're willing to do the hard shit in order to get there.
It is so hard to get that through to some people, though, that, like, they always they pose the question as if, well, how did you get to the point where you just didn't want that stuff anymore? You know, the garbage food.
I'm like, I'll let you know when I get there.
How did you get to the point? And these aren't the questions I get, but I see questions that people put in your question boxes, and these are like real questions. Like they pretend like you're, you know, some alien, like you just don't experience the same things that everybody else experiences. And this goes for so many, you know, people that we put up on this pedestal. We see do great things, and then you say, well, how did you get to the point where you just don't experience these human emotions, these human experiences, as if we're talking to some like literal, like, magnificent God that is not human? It
is wild, and that's why I like to keep things very raw and authentic. I think it's important, if you have a platform at all, to keep it as real as possible, because you do form like that you give people a false illusion that you're just like built different, or there's something special about you, or you've just crossed this threshold where you no longer have these temptations. I ran to the store because we were making tacos tonight. We had a guest over, and we had expired cheese and no lettuce. So basically we were offering tacos that was just
meat and Greek yogurt.
Greek yogurt for sour cream and tortillas. It was embarrassing. And I'm not a homemaker by any means, but I'm like, okay, we can't serve her expired cheese. So anyway, I run to the
show how often we eat the shredded cheese.
Yeah. I run to the store and I'm waiting in line to check out with my non-expired cheese, and I grabbed some lettuce because we didn't have any of that. And I had a staring contest with a freaking Nerds rope. And I am 27-year-old that owns a health and wellness business that is very well educated on macronutrients and nutrition. And I'm like, should I have the Nerds rope? Because I could eat it before I got home and no one would even know I ate it, right? But the thing of the matter is like, I know, and I know what that does, and I know that it's unproductive towards my overall goals.
Your body knows.
Yeah. It's the wildest thing. Even if you don't track it, it still happened.
Right.
It's the damnedest thing. But I always share that because like I still have those temptations. I certainly still have those urges, and I love junk food and candy and things like that. But you just have to understand that there is a cost to the things that you want more. It wouldn't make any sense for the more valuable and rewarding things in life to be achieved passively.
Right. It's a choose your hard conversation. Either way, the path is hard. It's just, wouldn't you rather have the hard that is productive? You know, something that you're going to feel good about.
Yeah, it's hard being uncomfortable in your skin and overweight and unhealthy, having to take multiple medications to regulate your health. But it's also hard to, do the hard work it requires to get in shape. And it yields a lot better outcomes. So you can choose your hard.
Yeah. Would you rather go down the hard path that yields those results that you're discussing, or would you rather go down the hard path where you battle diabetes and obesity the rest of your life? I mean, which one would you rather go down? Like, no matter which way you go, life's going to be hard. Life is never easy for anybody in any way, shape, or form. Everybody has trials and tribulations, but whenever you get to at least, make a decisive action and say, okay, well, I'm going to determine my outcome because I'm going to take the path maybe of more resistance, because it's not easy to live this life of, high personal excellence, as Andy Frisella would say. It's just, in my opinion, it's not even close to being anything as grabby as being a couch potato and achieving nothing and feeling like shit.
So just, I want to bring it back to quitting and just like being rational about it. So you're doing something hard that you want to quit at. We're identifying that. We've all been there. So what's your game plan if you do quit? Like, if you quit here, what happens? You go back to where you were previously, that you were unhappy, that you started something that was hard in an effort to get out of that state of unhappiness. So are we just delaying another start date? Are we delaying another conversation where we have to get back on the wagon because we fell off? Like, have you felt like, is this deja vu? Do we feel like we're continuing to replay this cycle over and over again? What happens if we just decide not to quit? If we just push through this period where it sucks and we recognize that? And that's part of the plan. That's part of the process. Like, the struggle is integral to the process. Otherwise, you're never going to overcome that. You're never going to supersede whatever barrier you're trying to get past, because you're just running into a wall and then getting scared off and running away. And then you're going to approach it again and you're going to get scared off and run away. But eventually you have to climb over that wall.
Mm-hmm. I think that there's something that's important to point out, that there's a big difference between failure and quitting. Because failure, that implies that you kept going long enough to have an end result that was not to your satisfaction. Like, it was not what you wanted to happen, but you learned something from it because you pushed yourself to the point of failure. If you quit, you'll never experience failure, and you'll never actually get to the point where you learn something. You have a good takeaway to build on. You have to get to that point of failure in order to actually learn something, versus quitting. You're never going to accomplish anything at all because you quit before there's ever an opportunity to learn.
Yeah, quitting, you're never getting back up. It's a lack of resilience. throwing in the towel. There's no grit there.
There's nothing wrong with failing.
No, because I mean, failing is part of, like, it's part of the process like anything else. Failure is, again, it's integral to it, because you're never going to wake up and just become that person. You're never going to be the person that hits however many home runs a year, and like, you don't wake up an all-star, you don't wake up a marathon runner, you don't wake up a best-selling book or a best-selling author, or whatever endeavors that you're going into. Like, you have to fail, and you have to struggle, and you have to kind of suck at things. You have to embrace that suck, that period of, okay, I'm just not good at it yet. And that yet is really important there. Whether you put it like a growth mindset or a fixed mindset of, like, I'm just not good at this, and that's the final. I am, resolving to just be stuck where I'm at, where I'm not good at it yet. And that tells me, like, I'm going to keep working at it, because there's an area of opportunity here. There is room for growth. There are, avenues that I can take to expand my capacity, because I'm not there yet. I think that yet is very important there. Mm-hmm.
Whenever I think about, like, failure versus quitting, like a quick analogy for me, and something that's very relatable for a lot of people that we'd be talking to, is just in the weight room. Like, we talk about going till failure, going till failure in the weight room. And a lot of people don't actually know what that is. Like, truly going to failure, where your muscle fatigue is so intense that you can literally not pick up the weight another rep. Like, that's it. You're burnt. That's the last rep that you'll possibly get. And it takes a lot of mental fortitude to actually get to that point. But that's where you see the most gains in the weight room. You're going to see the most results. And people oftentimes say, well, I'm doing the workouts, I'm going through the motions, I'm doing these things that you're telling me to do, but I'm not really seeing the results. Well, chances are you're not doing them till failure, or you're not doing them and pushing yourself to the point where you're actually going to, see the fruits of your labor. And the same goes for everything in life. Like, if you don't actually push yourself to a point of where you might see failure. Now, the weight room, this analogy doesn't apply to everything in life. Like, you're not always seeking that failure for growth. Like, you don't want to push your bank account to the point of failure where you're going into the red.
Go to failure in the bank account. Right. That was me in college.
This analogy can't just necessarily be, you can't drag and drop to everything, but you get the point here. You have to push yourself to your limits to actually see the fruits of your labor, and to really get the all-around benefit. And it takes a lot of mental strength, and it takes, honestly, you have to train your mind to get to that point, because it's so easy whenever things get hard to just want to quit. Because, like, if you have 2 more reps in you, you're like, man, this burns, this sucks, this is super uncomfortable, I want to drop this weight and be done with it and just be done for the day. It's super easy to do that. But if you go that extra 2 reps every single day, 365 days a year, think how much better you're going to be.
Yeah, because exhaustion is so uncomfortable. And when I'm in that point, like, specifically speaking in the gym, when I am at a point where I am dead tired, like, I'm like contemplating. So this is another thing we think about, like quitting or cheating in the gym, like shaving reps. And when I say that, it's like, you're supposed to do 12, but I did 9 and no one was really looking. So, it probably looked like I was doing 12. You think in your head that time period is such a small percentage of your day. And I'm like, do I really, really need to shave off 10 seconds of this day because I am so incredibly uncomfortable that I just can't stand it anymore? And I know for a fact my ass is going to be sitting at my desk for the next 11 hours. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be wishing that I was out of that uncomfortable position, that I was moving my body, because I'm so tired of just sitting here and staring at a screen. We're constantly just trying to quit whatever present time discomfort we're experiencing mm-hmm. in order to replace it with something else and then want to hop back into something else. Like, just allowing yourself to sit in that discomfort in one realm. If you can be disciplined and push through that in the gym, you can be disciplined and push through that at work. And you can be disciplined and push through that with a hard conversation with your significant other or whatever. It's just a matter of, Brett said it, it's mental fortitude. And once you kind of establish that and you get more accustomed to pushing yourself beyond that point, that flexing that mental muscle more than anything, then the physical will fall in line much easier behind it.
Yeah, I mean, you just dangle the carrot to yourself, really. You know, just throughout your day, you chase this little bit of comfort, which inevitably leads to another point of discomfort, which inevitably leads to another point of wanting to chase a new form of comfort, and it's just this hamster wheel effect. And we never truly seize the moment that we're in, you know, whenever we're in that mode of just trying to find the next, you know, comfortable thing. And if you never really find yourself present in that moment and seize the moment and do the best at what you're actually doing in that moment, then, you know, you're probably not progressing in anything at all. I find myself, like, whenever when I'm really good at being present in the morning, whenever I'm, you know, just you and me in the weight room, a lot of times it's me, you, and 2,000 women that are inevitably watching a video. But whenever it's just you and I in the basement, and I find myself thinking about all sorts of other things that are happening in our life, like, I try to return to the present moment, because that's like one of the only times of the day that it's just like me. Nobody, for the most part, is going to be bothering me at that time of day, and I get to just focus on the here and now, you know, and getting to take out any sort of stress just on the weights, you know, and just that the ability to do that and find that sort of solitude and that sort of peace, it's a really beneficial thing for a person if they can really truly just become present in the moment and embrace that.
Yeah. I have to think that the reason that you embarked on whatever endeavor it is that you're doing right now, you know, you're doing something challenging for a reason. And you likely started it because you were at a spot that you were unhappy, that you were uncomfortable, that you desperately wanted to get out of. And what happens is that they talk about this in The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. It's a great book if you've never read it. So he says
great book.
A lot of times people hit rock bottom and you'll realize you have to make a change. And typically people come into the fitness realm, into the, you know, nutrition space when they have hit a point, you know, whether it's like they were forced with an illness or they could no longer fit in their clothes, or maybe they went to the doctor's appointment and stepped on the scale for the first time in a long time. Or they saw themselves in a picture at a get together and they were just super unhappy. So you're at this point where you are really uncomfortable and you decided something has to give. We have to make a change. And then you start putting those things in place and you intentionally get uncomfortable because you realize that the intentional discomfort far outweighs that discomfort you were sitting in earlier, where you just were not happy with where you're at. And what happens is that by putting those steps in place, you start to make progress and you start to, you know, pick up those little wins, and you're just inching your way out of rock bottom, where you're less and less familiar with that feeling that you were getting away from, that you were running from because you were so desperate to get out of there. And you didn't realize, like, you feel less trapped. So then you can kind of let your foot off the gas, and then it's much easier to quit because you're no longer faced with that ultimatum feeling where it's like, I do or die right now. I've got to make a change. And then you know what happens when you quit because you no longer feel that way? You slink back down to that same point, and then we just restart again and again. We cycle back through that, and that's how a
lot of people go throughout their life.
Yeah, it breaks my heart. Like that one quote where it's like, please do your best not to live the same year 75 times. Like, people set the same resolutions every single year, and then they'll get back to it the next year. They'll get back to it the next year. And I hate that. It makes me sad because I want people to live to their full potential, not just physically, but like, I want you to have all of the experiences and be, you know, rich in relationships and, you know, rich in fulfillment with your professional life. And I don't believe that that's possible if you're not taking care of yourself. Truly. I think that you're leaving so much left on the table. You have so much potential out there that could be optimized, that you're cashing in early.
Yeah, it's really sad whenever people get on that, that cycle of year after year. I'm going to get back on the wagon, New Year's resolution. We've had that conversation before. And then they get a little traction, start looking a little bit better, and then they let off the gas. And then it just creates this cycle over and over and over. In the end, they probably just give up. There's just a lost hope. They say, well, I've gotten to the age where I can no longer, do these things. I've gotten to the age where it's just your body doesn't allow you to do these sorts of things anymore. There's that age-old excuse, no pun intended, that whenever you turn a certain age, that basically life is over, and your physical being is basically just a couch potato at that point. And whenever you get to that point of really just the quitting mentality, like, well, this is it, had a good run, then that's when people's life essentially ends mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. Like, you no longer have quality of life at that point. You've literally quit it all. And most of the time you see those people that pass away really early.
I'm sorry. Our dogs are going absolutely apeshit right above us, and I cannot concentrate whatsoever. I really hope you can't hear it. It
is very annoying.
In the microphone, but they're going crazy. They're all kinds of riled up, and it's really hard for me to concentrate. I
just cleaned those floors too.
I know. Poor Brett's having an aneurysm down here. Yeah, sorry, my attention just completely went out the window.
But I've seen what I was talking about before. I see that so often. It's almost like a culture in like a rural farming community, which I grew up in, which you grew up in, and it's almost like it's taboo to actually take care of yourself. And I'm sure a lot of people can probably relate with that. But there's this like norm of just being miserable because they quit at trying to take care of themselves, and just accepting that as the norm. And everybody's like, oh, well, yep, once you turn 60, it's all downhill from there because your joints start to go out. Well, your joints start to go out because you weren't taking care of yourself. You quit on everything with trying to take care of yourself, and you just considered that life. You considered that the normal. And that isn't just, exclusive to a rural farming community, but I do consider that to be an unfortunate cultural norm for that portion of our society.
Yeah.
Who doesn't take their health seriously. That portion of their life, they just quit. There's never been any effort there.
Yeah, I think that I've said everything that I need to say on the topic. It breaks my heart that you constantly do that. It breaks my heart and it frustrates me because, like I said, sometimes I just want to shake people and try and get it through to them. And I have these same thoughts. So know that I'm not speaking like from a pedestal. I experience these exact same temptations and these exact same mental deliberations. However, I cannot settle in feeling less than that. I cannot settle to do less than what I know I'm capable of. And I know that I'm capable of that, and I have that awareness and that confidence in myself because I have pushed past that point time and time again. And I have chosen the harder path time and time again. So, yeah, it makes sense why you have no sense of what's possible. And it makes sense why you have no sense of the delayed gratification when you've never allowed yourself to experience it.
Yeah. And I think in your line of work, there's this perception with people that come to you for help and they fall off the wagon and they say, I'm sorry, I'm just not good enough for this. I don't have what it takes. They have this perception that they're cheating you when in reality they're cheating themselves. Like they are the ones that are making the decision. They're making they're drawing a line in the sand for themselves and saying that they are going to determine their future right then and there. Go ahead.
Well, I think that that's a cop-out, largely. And I think that it should be, like, the martyr should be addressed as well.
Mm-hmm.
People that quit because they say that they are needed elsewhere, when they quit their health because they need to take care of other things, it's a cop-out. And you say that because it sounds very noble. It sounds like you're a martyr, like
virtuous.
You are making a sacrifice for the betterment of a lot of other people. But you know that you can't be the best mom, the best dad, the best employee, the best boss, the best teacher, coach, friend, husband, wife, sister, brother-in-law, human, if you're not taking care of yourself. So it is, pardon my language, it's bullshit when we say that. And when we put the blame on other people and say, you know, I just can't do it because my kids are so little right now that they need me 24 hours a day. You can't sacrifice 30 minutes a day to move your body because your kids are too little. And
make sound nutrition decisions to increase the longevity.
When you're going to eat regardless, yes. It's so, yeah.
And influence your kids at the same time to make their quality of life better. Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up because that's a super, super common thing, is to play the martyr and make it sound as though you're thinking of others first instead of yourself, in an effort really just to bail yourself out from having to try.
Yeah, it is not selfish at all to take time out of your day in order to take care of yourself. It's in fact selfless, and it's essential to being that mother that you say you want to be so bad, that dad that you know you want to show up as. You have to understand that if you're not delivering on those things for yourself, then you're never going to deliver on the potential you have as the human to the people that are counting on you.
And that sets the standard for, you know, your family. You know, if we're talking about, like, you know, kind of influencing your kids and your spouse, you know, setting that standard for them and them seeing that you take yourself seriously, you take your life seriously.
And just them seeing you follow through with things. Like, I think resilience and grit are really important things for kids to learn because it's super think about the first time you ever wanted to quit. You probably don't even remember. You were so little. Just because when you try something that's hard, it's not fun. It's not natural to do things that don't come easy to you, that aren't necessarily fun. But if they see their role model and the only person that they look up to that is, you know, modeling everything else in their life, if they see you continue to quit, then, I mean, you're leading by example. They'll follow in those footsteps.
Yeah. If you don't take yourself seriously, who will?
Right. Alrighty. I think that's all I've got. My attention is thin with these dogs upstairs.
I know.
They sound like they're peeling out.
They're really trying to show off
our
for our
hardwood
guest.
Upstairs. All right, guys. I think that's all we've got. Please, for all that is holy, do not quit, because I think that it would be delaying another start date, and we don't want that. So just for a second, imagine with me, you know, what happened if this was the time we didn't quit? Because at the end of the day, there truly is nothing special to it. Every single person I've ever met has wanted to quit at some point. But the difference between the people that achieve everything they set out to do, the people that become the happiest, healthiest, strongest, most confident version of themselves that they say they want to, and those that just talk about it, are the ones that understand that you're going to have to do the stuff that you don't want to do.
100%.
So please don't quit. All right, we'll talk to you next week. If you have any questions or suggestions that you want us to touch on, we would love to hear them. You can email those to us at our email,
pod@lexijwellness.com.
But until then, we will talk to you next Wednesday.